The Bible says, "Fill your hungry soul with what's good." When we eat, we share, we grow. Every meal is a chance to be fed and to feed someone else. Life is like cooking. When it works, it doesn't matter if the process is fancy or simple. Good food and a life well lived comes down to how much heart you put in. This time around, we're talking about self-care and loving yourself. And nothing says self-care and self-love like chocolate, at least in my opinion. This is an amazing recipe. It's simple. It has 5 ingredients, that's it. You probably have the ingredients in your house right now, so you don't even need to go to the store. And it turns out light, but rich and decadent, and you are totally worth it. So let's go ahead and start making this flourless chocolate torte. So because this only has 5 ingredients, you want to make sure that all of your ingredients are really, really good. And we start out with dark chocolate. It has to be 65% or more to really give you that rich, decadent feeling when we finish the torte. So I was a young mom when I first heard the concept of self-care and self-love, and I think it was one of those things that was becoming very trendy. Oprah probably introduced it. And my initial reaction to that, or taking care of yourself or taking time out for yourself, was, wow, that seems really selfish. And I really didn't like the idea of it. One of the reasons is because there was so many demands on my time. I was taking my daughter to ice skating and dance. I was taking my son to swim lessons and all of that. I would come home, I had a job, I was cleaning the house. There were all of these hats that I wore and all of this stuff that I felt like I had to do, and there just wasn't any time left. And it was one day, and I was just having a really tough day, and my husband actually was the one that kind of slowed me down. I was like, I can't do all of the stuff that I'm supposed to do, and I feel like a loser. I feel like I'm not accomplishing anything. I feel like a bad mom, a bad wife, a bad worker, just a bad citizen. I had been volunteering at our church, and I was just spread way thin. And my husband came to me and he said, you're not your accomplishments. And that really hit home for me. It was one of those moments where I was like, oh, okay. It's not this corny idea of take time out for yourself and love yourself. And it wasn't so much a secular idea that was popular. It was more of an inside job, of a heart job. So I took what he said to heart, and I started giving myself a little bit of time outs. Like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I would make the kids go upstairs to play, or they would lay down for a nap, and I would make myself a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and I would just take that opportunity to take a breath before I had to get up and make dinner again, or there was something else that was needed. And man, did it do wonders for my mood, for just the stuff that I could accomplish. And that was the moment that I decided that, okay, you know what, this isn't such a bad idea, and I maybe need to do more of this, and I maybe need to start taking care of myself. Because if you don't have it to give, if you don't give it to yourself, you can't give it to other people. So through that process, I sort of learned to take care of myself, honor myself, so that I could take care of the people in my church, my children, my husband, my co-workers, all of it. So it's not such a selfish idea after all, and I highly recommend it. And today, when I'm done cooking all of this, I'm gonna sit down with a piece of this cake, probably between 3 and 4 o'clock, with a nice cup of coffee, and I'm gonna take a minute for myself. And I recommend that you do the same thing. So once you have the chocolate completely chopped up, and it doesn't have to be, it can be roughly chopped, it doesn't have to be perfect. Go ahead and put it in a heat-safe bowl. To the chocolate, we're going to be adding the butter. And yes, it's a lot of butter, but it's totally worth it. Again, remember that this is about taking care of yourself and self-love. Now we're headed over to the stove to melt this over a little bit of boiling water. Now that it's all melted, we want to take it off of the heat so that we don't break the chocolate. Want to add the chocolate and the melted butter. And you know, you have to do quality control, so you have to taste the chocolate. Okay, we can go ahead. And to this, once it's cooled off just a little bit, we're going to add 3/4 of a cup of sugar. Now we're gonna give it a mix. We're gonna add our vanilla extract. Now comes the really important part, and this is where we're gonna be adding the eggs, and we're adding them one at a time, and you want to make sure that each egg is fully incorporated in this. And it's gonna be really neat because you'll be able to watch the color of the batter change. So add your first egg. Now that your batter is done, we want to add it to a springform pan. And this is a 9-inch pan, and you can probably see, but in the bottom I've put a piece of parchment, and the sides and the bottom are all oiled. So it's a completely prepared pan. You're gonna wanna put this in a 375-degree oven for about 30 minutes. Just watch it and insert your toothpick about 30 minutes. It may take about 5 to 10 more minutes more if your oven runs a little bit less than 375, if your oven runs a little bit cool. Once it has a chance to cool, we're gonna wanna pop it out of our springform pan. I'm gonna transfer it to a serving platter, just like that. That's when the parchment comes in really handy. And you can garnish this any way that you like. I like to put a little bit of powdered sugar, but you can do a ganache, you can do nothing at all, but this to me just makes it a little bit more fancy. And then just a bit more powdered sugar on top.
Thanks for watching. You can find the full recipe in the description box below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.